let's take some photos. Hello everyone, thanks once again for tuning in to the channel. So I finally got my hands on the Present Toys Jones figure. This is a third-party figure, and I almost passed on this figure because it just wasn't the one that I wanted. But after seeing some people who had it in hand, they were saying that the figure was really good. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and grab one. Thankfully, I was able to get one still at a reasonable price. So I gotta say, I am intrigued by the materials for the figure, because there was, obviously the fact that they had the, right here, the fact that they had the leather jacket that they had made for the figure, which is supposed to be a genuine leather. I thought that was that's actually a pretty nice touch. And so I gotta say, my main concern about the figure was the head sculpt. After seeing it and seeing some people have it, I was like, okay, the head sculpt looks pretty decent. So the only thing that I'm not too thrilled about this figure is when it comes to the clothing and when it comes to the jacket, there's literally like next to no weathering whatsoever. I mean, he's about as clean as can be, but he is a pretty good figure. So you can see the detail in the face, that looks pretty good. So I am pleased with the head sculpt. Even the other head sculpt I think is actually pretty good, and me personally, you guys know that as far as being a photographer is concerned, I'm glad that I have a figure that has two different facial expressions for it, because that means that's so much more I can do when it comes to my photography. So I'm pretty glad that I have that. So really the main reason why I wanted this figure was for the head sculpt, and also the shoes. I thought the shoes was actually pretty nice, which is funny because there's actually weathering on the shoes, which I think is, that's a nice touch that you get some weathering on the shoes. But when it comes to everything else, the rest of the clothes look pretty clean. So anyway, I mean, there's pretty much reviews all over YouTube right now when it comes to this figure. So I'm really not going to spend a lot of time doing a lot of, talking about the figure and everything you come with and everything, because there's tons of reviews that are already about that. What I'm going to do is, when it comes to, like I said, the outfit, there's really not a whole lot of weathering. The figure that I do have already is the Sideshow Indiana Jones, which some of you already know. I'll just say the head sculpt is not the greatest. However, the clothing is really good when it comes to the weathering. So what I'm going to do is, this is my Sideshow Indiana Jones figure. I've actually, like I said, I've had him for a while, so I already replaced the body, because I didn't really like the body and how, really, because I've had it for a while, it was just kind of loose. So I never really cared too much for the body. So I've swapped it out, but I'll show you the difference in the weathering. I just like the way the pants are a little, he had them a little bit baggy. So that was a plus for me. The boots, they were attached to the other body that I had. So I went ahead and just, put some different boots on it just to kind of go along with it. And because of that, I had to change the hands, because the hands didn't work too well with the new body that I put on. And so, the thing is this is not a, real leather jacket. And it's not, a leather holster or whatnot. But when it comes to weathering, I think it's done really good. Even the shirt has a lot more weathering than the weathering that's on the Present Toys version. So my whole thing was I was just going to take the head scope off of that one, put it on the body that I have for this guy, and it'll just look better on camera when it comes to the weathering. You can kind of see a little bit of the weathering in the pants, where it's just like right around the knee there, there's like some weathering. And then the same thing when it comes to, like, well, I mean, you can see a little bit on the glove, so you can see just weathering on that. So it just helps to have. But when it comes to the head scope, you can clearly see that it's not, it's not really the best. I just had it because I was like, well, I didn't want to get rid of it because like I said, the weathering for the clothing looked good. I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait until I get, a better head scope. And so having this figure here, this was my chance to actually have it. So that's the reason why I'm gonna change this out a little bit and see if I can get some better photos. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and take some swapping out for shoes and whatnot, and change the clothes and everything else, and put it all together. And then we're gonna jump straight into some photos. I think we can come up with some really good stuff because of the body that I chose for this figure. And I'm just gonna place that head on this body so I can get more accurate poses and things like that. So let's jump into the photos and let's see what we come up with. Okay, so that wraps it up for this Indiana Jones figure. I gotta say I'm pretty satisfied with how things turned out. I will take this time to explain a couple of things, because for those of you who may want to attempt to do the same thing I did, I'll just let you know what ended up happening. So I ended up not using the body that I originally had set up with the other Sideshow figure, mainly because the ball joints for the head and for the feet were smaller than the body that I had, so I could not use that. However, I was able to swap out the pants, so now he has the weathering pants. And again, I'm not using the leather jacket, but still on camera, as you can see in the photos, that this was still good enough for what I wanted to portray. So it has the weathering things. I used the coiled whip that came with the Sideshow figure because that was just easier to manage. I didn't have to try and coil up the other one. So the majority of the clothing that was on the Sideshow figure, I used it on this one. The present toys, the only thing I kept was the feet, obviously because of the joints and everything, and it's more accurate for the shoes, and the belt. The belt that came with the present toys version, I still use that one. Other than that, everything is still from the Sideshow figure, and again, on camera it just looks better to use. And this was the idol that came with the Sideshow figure, as opposed to present toys, which does not come with this piece. But overall, I'm still satisfied. The body that I originally had, I really wanted to use that one because it had the double jointed elbows, so it's kind of something I could work with. But as you can see from the photos, it was still okay to use this one. And again, I'm satisfied with the results. So there you have it. Thanks once again for tuning in to the channel, and I'll see you next time.